Welcome to webinar with ClampOn. So glad you could join us today. Today we're going to talk about Sand Monitor and Client Software 4.0. My name is Emilia Johansson and I will moderate this event. My colleagues Åsmund Bakke and Mats Toppe will present. Åsmund works as a service manager and Mats as head of software engineering department. After the presentation, we will have some time to answer questions, so please write your questions in the Q&A chat during the presentation, and we will try to answer them best possible afterwards. If time runs out or you have other things you would like to discuss further, please send us an email at sales@clampon.com. Recording will be made of this webinar and the link to this will be sent to you. The recording will also include a Q&A session. I will now leave the scene to Mats and Åsmund. Are you ready?
Thanks, Emilia. I'm Mats Toppe, the head of software engineering at ClampOn.
Yeah, and I'm Åsmund Bakke, head of service department.
So we're going to have a look at the new software from ClampOn. We hope to do the final testing now in April, May, and you should be able to install it in June if everything goes according to plan. And when we do that, we're retiring our old software, Sand Monitor 3.0, which we've maintained since 2004. It's been through 200 smaller and larger updates since then. And we'll keep supporting it, of course. We won't leave you stranded with it. We'll make sure it runs smoothly and gets any critical bug fixes if there are any to apply. But other than that, the focus will be on the next version, and we'll stop supporting new operating systems, for example, for 3.0. 3.0 has worked nicely for most customers. We know that the best systems that we have are the ones that involve our software, whether it's subsea or topside systems. It's always a huge benefit of having all that data available in a task-specific software. But with 4.0, we're trying to take it a notch up, and we had a lot of things that we wanted to add, like extended trending all the process data that's relevant for the sand monitoring, and we also wanted to not just present the current situation. With the old software, you would have to go through trends to get a situational overview. With 4.0, we wanted to present the user with a continuously updated report that tells you pretty much all you need to know, whether you have a good trend, whether you should focus on particular sensors or wells, and allow you to get an overview as quickly as possible without having to do any manual inspections. So that's one of the main new features. But of course, we also wanted to improve the SAM readings as well. So we put work in updating all the parameters for the calculation. We've also started using a new formula. We've been using that in the DSP2 sensors when they do internal sand calculations for quite a few years, and we have good experience with that. It's pretty much the same formula as they came up with in the research in the University of Tulsa. and I'll show you a bit why it's better than the old formula. But of course, if you have a system that's working and it's using the old formula, you're not going to be forced to update that. It's possible to leave everything as it was after the update as well. And then we also wanted the software to be able to tell us something about the condition of the system without us having to do any research. For example, if there's a lot of vibration that causes false readings, for example, there's the sensor can measure that up front and trend it so that we can pick that up with the new software. If there's an abnormal temperature on the sensor, for example, we're not logging that in the software. So you get a lot of extra diagnostics as well. The new software runs as a service if it's on a Windows machine or a virtual PC. It's the same code whether it's running on a Windows machine or a controller. It's just recompiled for the target that we're using it on. So all features are exactly the same whether it's on a controller or on Windows. So let's start with one of the new main features, the continuously updated reports. When you log on to the system now, because that's what you do, you use that. You always use a client application. So whether you're local or on a remote PC, you start a client and then you get your system overview. And this is what you get when you log on. You have immediately an overview that tells you what the current readings are, but also, let's see, also things like the total for the chosen period. So you can get 1 hour reports, 12-hour reports, 24-hour or weekly reports. You also see the change from one period to the next. So in this case, we can see that the SAM production this last hour has dropped compared to the previous hour by 46 kilos, which is promising. So maybe you don't need to choke the well, because you're already seeing a reduced SAM production. So instead of going into the trends to figure that out, you get an overview directly from the report. But you also have the trends directly on the reports. So down in this area, you can just select your sensors or multiple sensors and see the trend of that sensor. You have a choice between a SAM trend, raw signal, or custom trends. So we're trying to make it as quickly and easy as possible to give you an overview of the situation. Of course, if there's any of the trends, for example, that are worrying, for example, the SAM total is going up the last 6 hours, those are highlighted in red in the reports. And of course, you can copy that report into other software if you want to report it to someone else. This report is updated every second. It's not there's no delay on that. So it's something that would be quite costly to generate in, for example, the control system. But here you have it directly from our system. In the report, you see the current alarm state. It's actually animated. So in this case, you see a red sensor with particles jumping around, which shows you that there's a SAN alarm. If you hover over the sensor, in this case, you see a description of all the current alarms that are set. Here we see the different quick trends that you can see at the bottom. If you look at multiple sensors at the same time, you just get the SAN rate or raw signal of all of them. If you look at one at a time, you get additional info. In this case, the SAN rate and the flow velocity. And of course, you can copy, save, or print, or take an image of these quick trends using the buttons at the bottom. You can also turn on or off the auto scaling, and you can choose whether you want the trend that you're looking at to match the report period that you've chosen, or you can select other alternative periods just to inspect what's going on. And you can also remove trends by double-clicking here or right-clicking and hiding them. In the general trends, you can choose from a wide range of process parameters. If our system gets a feed from the DCS, for example, you have the gas, oil and water rates, pressure, temperatures, and also diagnostics from the sensors like vibration and temperature available in these custom trends. You can also, if you look at the bottom top here, you can customize the coloring, background colors, plot colors. If the default ones aren't clear enough, or you're colorblind, or you can customize all of that. You also have access to absolutely all the internal parameters that are associated with selected sensors. If you go on the tags list here, you can see all the associated tags and their current value, whether they're okay, and last time they were updated, etc. You can, from this list, you can drag and drop to get charts. So if you want to monitor specific tags, just have a running trend of those while you're working, you can do that. You of course have the event log available, and you can filter it by using the search box at the bottom here, or you can also filter on the type of alarms. Of course, now that we're trending not just the velocity, raw value, and SAN rate, but also the whatever flow information we get, the trend windows have changed a bit, where you select one or multiple sensors and one or multiple tags to read from all of these sensors. And you get all of them up in your trends. During the Q&A, I'll show you a live demo as well, so we can, and if you have questions about how things work, we can do that during the Q&A. If you're using the client offline, because it's a nice tool, even if you don't have remote access, if you just get log files sent, you can now open a file and you'll get a list of all the files in the same directory, and making it very quickly to browse through multiple files. Now, when it comes to improving the SAN calculation, if you upgrade an existing system, it will maintain the same formula and all the parameters that you were using before. But you get this selector in the sensor settings where you can choose to swap to the new formula. If you do that, all the parameters that you're setting for the new formula are kept separate from the old one, so you don't risk changing any of your old parameters if you choose to go back to the new formula or the old one. Here we see one of the tests where we use the new formula. If you look at in this case, you see the effect of increasing noise with the old formula. If you had very high noise levels, it would start to underestimate the sound rate with the new formula. If you look at the what's that color?
Purple.
Yeah, the purple plot continues to give you pretty much the correct answer regardless of the level of background noise. It's stable at in this case 5 grams per second, but the old one would trail off, and it's the same effect we see if you have very high levels of sound production. You would start to underestimate with old formula. The new formula will keep giving you the correct answer. Some of you may have used this already, either in the limited version of it, which is in the internal sound calculation and the TSP2 sensors, and some of you may have been allowed a test of it, but now it's official and available in the SAN 1.4 version, and that's the auto zero function, where the software itself continuously analyzes the background noise and adjusts the zero level, and that will help you. Makes it a bit easier to ensure that you don't get zero offset errors, because it will adjust according to the situation. You still have some control over this function, so you put a threshold on how high it's allowed to increase the zero, but other than that, it will adjust better than you would be able to do manually. And in some cases, it's very difficult to, even with a closely monitored solution, having the zero level set just based on the flow velocity, for example, can be difficult because, like in this case, there's this at the same flow velocity, there's an increase in the background noise, and this was a special situation because it was due to a faulty meg injection pump that was generating a lot of background noise. But with the auto zero, the system will automatically adjust to this as well. We've also split the way you select, or the system selects, the zero and the step parameters in the sound calculation. Previously, you would always base it on the same reference reading, so both the step and the zero parameters would be based typically on the flow velocity. But in some cases, it's better to describe the zero. It's more of a function of the choke or back pressure than the flow velocity, and that's one of the things that we've added now. You can base the zero selection on, for example, the tubing head pressure. We've also had a look at all the default step values that we've been using. Of course, they've always been based on a lot of field data, but now we have gathered a lot more, and we also have seen how we can better describe things with a few extra inputs. For example, the typical grain size and the gas liquid ratio. So those are now inputs when you set up the system, so that we can get even better default parameters if you're not doing sand injections, to get even more optimized reads. When it comes to the zero, you also have the option of getting it from an external source, and whether it's Modbus or some other IO option, where we go through this tag option now. Yeah, we'll have a look at this a bit more later. In many cases, in our systems, we have a custom totalizer where some wants to have a running total for their shift, for example, last 12 hours. And in the previous version, it was always a locked totalizer from the start of the day till midnight. That's something that is now configurable. This is the total that we output to external systems as well. So you have a lot of configurable options here. You can also have a continuous running total and reset it from the control system. But it's all configurable in the standard version. There's no customization or plugins required for this. Let's see, time is running. One of the things that we got input from some of your customers are that we wanted to have a dynamic alarm. So instead of having alarm limits just based on the current or fixed condition, you can now have alarms that vary whether you have high or low velocity, for example. It's just not static limits anymore. Of course, the new version supports the same type of alarm logic that you have in 3.0. If you select the legacy version of the alarm logic, but now with the added feature of or the possibility of using dynamic limits. But there's also new alarm options where you have a slightly different way of avoiding spurious alarms. And you can also base it on a running total. A lot of customers that use the maximum allowed sand rate operate with limits based on a running total, for example. And now you can have that in our system. And we've also added a medium filter on that. So in case where you just adjusted the choke, for example, and you get some spikes, you don't want to include that in the running total. That's included now. And in cases where you don't have flow input to the system, so you don't have dynamics parameters for the sand calculation, or for some reason the flow input fails, you now also have alarms on the acoustic signal itself, raw signal alarms. In this case, you can put an absolute limit on it, but also a limit on how quickly it changes. If you're not maintaining the zero of the system, you may get offset errors, and wanted the system to be able to tell you whether those offset errors are significant. So now we have a zero offset alarm option. Yeah, and also you have temperature and vibration alarm options now. So every 30 seconds or 1 minute, for example, we sample the temperature or vibration, and you get that from your system as well. If any of the inputs from an external system goes out of range, we define valid input ranges, and you get invalid input alarms on that as well. Let's see, the time is flying, so we'll jump ahead a bit. Let's see. For all the new alarms, if you install the new software and you import your old settings, you will be asked whether you want to keep the same alarm output to your control system, just to make sure it's compatible. But you can then also choose to get the additional alarms out from it. Done a lot of work on how to make it quicker and easier to set up your system, and I get an overview of all the parameters in it. Yeah. For example, if you're using the system without flow input, it's just a standalone system. You get help setting the zero. You have a find button when you input the zero, and you see a trend, and you can select the zero from there, or get a suggestion based on the auto zero function. You also have access to that functionality directly from the raw signal quick trend. Yeah. If you've done sand injections, or you have observed the background noise over time, you have tools now to help you generate the lookup tables based on those observations, where we generate the lookup tables based on your observed levels of the step or zero level. And of course, we've made improvements on how you can connect to the system. For example, in cases where you don't want the sand monitoring system on the network, you can have a port server somewhere with a serial link to the system instead, and the client supports connecting to the server through that. We've also added things like 32-bit Modbus support, and made it very easy to set up. And there's an additional functionality now where you, instead of, if you have a lot of sensors and you're adding new sensors, you can choose to keep the same Modbus setup for all the sensors, and the control system will just inquire them based on a Modbus ID instead, which makes it much easier for you guys to set up the control system, because it's the same Modbus addresses. It's just a new ID when you add a new sensor. Yeah. So
that's good. That's good, Mats.
Yeah. So there's a lot of new features. We've improved both the most important thing, of course, is the sand calculation, and how you get an overview of it, how things are going. And you get a lot of extra tools that you wouldn't be able to set up in your control system to do sand recalculations. From the system, we can stream the data to our ClampOn cloud solution, so that you can work collaboratively with our support team evaluating the data. Or robust alarm logic and dynamic alarm logic, and hopefully this will help you spend less time maintaining your system with auto zero and diagnostics running all the time. Upgrading will support secure that you have future support and that you can run your system on new Windows versions, etc. And of course, one of the main advantages of using ClampOn software in your monitoring system is that we keep maintaining it and developing it at very low cost for you. So all these new features get available to you instead of having things implemented in a control system where you don't. After 10 years, nobody knows how it was implemented and no one adds any new features, etc. We've touched upon it. We made everything so that it should be smooth and trouble-free to upgrade. But of course, doing it in a managed fashion, ensuring that everything is compatible, that all the old data will get into the new system, etc. is some work. So you may want to have some support from us, and that's where Osman comes in the migration process, where we make sure that you can upgrade. If you have any custom features, whether it's already covered or if we need to regenerate those custom features as a plugin for the new system, for example. Training to make sure that your users are able to use it before we install it, and all of that. And we have a plan on how to do it without running into any issues. So with that, I'll leave it to you, Osman, to talk about
thanks for that, Mats. The users of SAN Monitor or previous SAN Monitor has looked forward to this for a long time, and the good thing by waiting is that our needs of new feature is implemented here. So that's very good. And regarding this migration process, our systems out there, they are very important alarm systems. So of course, the migration process should not leave any failure in the system. So because of that, we recommend that ClampOn service is involved in that process. Regarding features you now have implemented in this software, they are inspired of what's going on in the field, and over years, SAN monitoring and SAN management has developed a lot. And now one main thing is the thing with the alarms, because many SAN management plans out there, they are based on the principle that you allow some SAN production, but you need to stay under a given level. And that level or limit is not a constant limit. It depends on the velocity and also the density. So now by having the possibility to have different limits in the software will be very, very good, because acoustic SAN detection system in older days, it was an issue with a lot of false alarms. And if you get too many false alarms from a system, then that's not a good reputation for the system. So
desensitize, says the operator as well. So
So that's and also the thing that we now get, many SAN management plans are based on this acceptable SAN rates in combination with total mass. So now we can have both alarms on both things in the software. So that's good. And of course, zero offset, very important that we get a notification that zero needs to be reviewed. So we look really forward to those new alarms options. So, but another thing is that since the DSP2 platform was released from ClampOn, we actually had the option to monitor the vibration also with the sand monitor instrument. But we have not used it for what it's worth until now. We have in some systems we have just transferred those measurements directly to the client's the historical database, and so the one interested in those data have been able to use them, but we have not used it enough ourselves to actually improve our own sand readings. So the new thing now is that you also can set an alarm on the vibration level, which, for example, can be used to detect if a sensor become loose, which is maybe one of the most critical thing for acoustic sand detection. If you lose the acoustic contact between the sensor itself and the pipe, then the whole measuring principle has a problem. So in this trend here is an example of a sensor we discovered was loose. We reinstalled it here, and you see this is the acoustic level. But if you had the vibration monitored here, we would probably discover this. So another thing is this auto zero. You have talked a little bit about it, Mats, but we are working every day to make this auto zero function smarter, and then vibration data there also can be a good input. So yeah, that's will be a really good new thing, that we can trend vibration data together with the acoustic signal. Yeah, just to say a little bit more about this auto zero, because at service and support we have been working with auto zero since 2012. And many of our clients use it offshore in the system, and it has reduced our hours of maintaining with, I would say, 80%. It's a great thing. And in the beginning, 2010 or so, then we were really afraid that it could mask the sand signal and so on. But we have a lot of experience now that is not an issue, as long as you configure it correct. It's not like a press a button and you have an automatic zero. You need to configure it correctly. So that's important. My print screen here is from our post-calculating tool. It's a software called Sand Analyzer, but it's just to illustrate an example of the difference between auto zero and fixed zero. So we could have our own webinar about this. So I'm just taking it very, very quick. But you see here the sand rate formula here, and the blue triangle here is the raw value, and the black line up here is the calculated velocity. And the thing we often see is that we have changeable gas liquid ratio, which again cause changeable background noise level, and that cause issue because you might not see it on the calculated velocity. So that's not varying even if the gas liquid ratio change, but we see it on the acoustic. So, and then especially if you have sand also under these conditions, which is in this example, you see these amplitudes, the spikes going up from the baseline here. That's solid production particles, but you see there is a wave going up here, and that's due to a change in gas liquid ratio. So to calculate the correct sand rate here, we actually need the zero to follow this wave. And that is possible with the auto zero. If you don't have the auto zero, you have to make a decision. Put the zero somewhere here on the top or in the bottom, but the sand rate will then be wrong. So just illustrating it here, we put the zero on the top, and on the bottom there, you calculate it. Now in this software we are recalculating it just as an example, and you see if you use the zero on 7,500, we get 260 kilo of sand in this example. Then if we choose to put the zero more on the top of these waves, let's say 20,000 in this example, then the total sand is 6.7 kilo. So that's best and worst case, you can say. But by using auto zero, we can easily configure that so the zero is actually following the noise waves, and we can also make a absolute ceiling, we call it, or absolutely maximum zero on 20,000 here as an example. As you see there, it's clipping there, so it cannot follow further up. And by doing that, you see the orange line now is actually the zero value the software use. So then actually we can get the zero to follow the change in gas liquid ratio, and this can be implemented in the live system in Sand Motor 4.0. So the automatically calculated sand rate use this algorithm, and as you see there, the result by using that zero, which we here will report to our client, is the correct sand rate, and what the sand rate we mean the alarms should be based on is the sand rate, the red line you see here, and in total here 53 kilo of sand. So this was very quick explanation of that. So if you zoom out a little bit, just to say how important this sand monitor is, I will definitely say it's a game changer. In the beginnings, in '94, in the '90s, with ClampOn started, many of the systems, they were there only to say sand or no sand, that's it. Then we could see that it started to use the data into erosion calculation, and they understood that, okay, we can actually use this sensor to earn a lot of money. We can produce more also even with sand, and they start with the concept of acceptable sand rate, and then they also saw that by having control on the whole process system on a platform, following the sand from the reservoir, the subsea, we have a subsea sensor, then on a header maybe, or on the riser top side, and also the inlet of the separator. And by having these sensors into the same software, we could actually trace the sand in the whole system to ensure that you keep the sand rate and erosion under a given level, so you avoid downtime. You avoid to erode down your chalk because you keep it under a damaging level. So you are now, Mats, with the software taking this one step further, I would say. And yeah, we have looked so forward to it, and we have support contract with hundreds of installations, and they're asking us daily, when can we install this? When can we get it? So, what should we tell them, Mats?
As I mentioned, we're going to beta testing now in April. So hopefully it will be ready late May or early June. There's some documentation to ensure as well, not just developing software, but making sure that the documentation is good. Yeah, so.
I'm sure many is waiting for this upgrade. We are now ready for some questions, and remember, you may write your questions in the Q&A chat. I can see that we already got a couple, so just go ahead, Mats and Åsmund.
Yeah, will you start reading, Mats?
I see there's one question from Stephen O'Brien on the log file converter. You can use the same client to open both logs from the older system and from the new one. So you don't need a log file converter. You can just open it with the client. And of course, there's no license on the client. We only charge you money for the server. we're happy to allow you as many copies as you want of the client, and you can use that to do offline evaluation. Sometimes detector picks up a lot of noise, use the interference and wanted signals.
Yeah, I think we have to read it, Mats, because they can't read it.
Yeah.
Understand, so they could understand the question. So
Yeah.
the question was if this software can do anything with unwanted noise, and the thing there is that the instrument itself, the ClampOn instrument itself, has a filtration, and that is not changed by this software. So the raw value we get from the instrument is the same, also with this software, but the auto zero and how we set that up can help us to define easier what's noise and what's sound. So indirect, you can say that it will improve the sound rate calculation on noisy conditions.
We also have a question of why the range of the signal that we output to the DCS is typically limited from 0 to 500,000. That's just a Modbus resolution issue. So to be able to see smaller changes in the signal, you limit it to a reasonable range. And that means that, yes, you will get saturation above that. You can temporarily increase the range if you're doing testing that requires a wider range. But it's basically because it's you're using a 16-bit Modbus link. With 4.0, there's 32-bit Modbus supported, so in that case you won't need any scaling ranges at all. So then you get rid of that possible issue.
Yeah, I can see there is another good question here. If the system will be logging number of alarms on different wells, and the event log in the software, Mats, how is that designed? Is it can you sort it on different sensors and so on, or?
Yes, you can filter it and sort it on different sensors.
And alarm times also?
Yes. Yeah, that's one of the things that we couldn't present in the PowerPoint presentation, is that you have sorting on all your lists. But we're also, it may not be in the first version of 4.0, but we're also planning to be able to simulate the effect of different alarm settings. So
yeah,
that
we have that in the post calculator.
Yeah, I know. But if you're evaluating whether a change in the alarm limits, what kind of effect that would have, you could apply that to historical data and see the effect before you choose whether to use the new alarm limits. It's probably going to be in 4.1, but if you have a license for 4.0, 4.1 is free. We only charge for major upgrades. So if you're going from 3.0 to 4.0, you either pay a reduced license for that. If you already have a license, you just pay some of the license cost to upgrade, or you make a deal with ClampOn support to get help in the upgrade process, and then the license upgrade is embedded into the cost of that.
Yeah, our support customer, they always have advantages, you know.
Yeah, if you have a support agreement with ClampOn, the upgrades are included. Anyway, or at least help in upgrading.
Yeah, can see there is another questions if this can be used on existing sensors, and that is of course yes. This is can be used for
all of this can be used on existing systems. The extra diagnostics, the vibration and temperature monitoring, requires that you have DSP2 sensors. If you have DSP06, Well, DSP-06 can also support it, but not if you have really old sensors, like the 2000 version. Yeah, and it's also made to be compatible with the new type of wireless sensors, the BIRD.
There's another question here, Mats, regarding, you mentioned a little bit sand flux, and you mentioned these step tables, and that we will compensate for gas-liquid ratio and grain size, which is very well-known things, that the sand response depend on particle size, and it also depends on the gas-liquid ratio. Can you say a few words about that?
Yeah, when we collaborated on the sand flux work, that investigated ways of finding a way to calibrate systems where you can't do sand injections. We combined that with doing a whole reanalysis of all our own historical sand injections, and we saw that we could improve the default tables a lot by including the typical grain size and the gas-liquid ratio in those. So it gets very comparable to the performance that you get with sand flux. We're in discussions on how to maybe use sand flux in situations where there are other difficulties, and where the accuracy is very critical, but you can't do sand injections. You can do simulations, combined simulations with sand flux. Yeah, we've learned from that process and improved the.
Yeah, can add one thing regarding the existing, regarding the old step tables. Our experience is that they are conservative, so many clients prefer to use them. If they stay under their acceptable sand rates with them, they know they are good. And then if they cannot do sand injection, an option can then be to compensate for this particle.
Yeah, and when we updated the new default step tables, we took that into account, that we prefer to be conservative. For example, sand flux might be more accurate in some cases, but then it's not as conservative as we want it to be in other cases. So it's better to have a system that calculates a bit more sand in some cases, rather than have a system that underestimates too much in other cases. So we've chosen a conservative approach.
You can see there is another question almost about the same. It's about, he asked if it's possible that sand monitor can't detect fine sand production at low velocities, and that means we are not detecting it, and then chalk can still be eroded. Of course, that can happen, but the first thing there is to, if you as a user of the system has a control on what velocity is needed to have transport, what type of particles you are producing, and so on, you can find out if you are in the zone where you maybe not are able to detect the particles.
But I also think that when you're looking at the sensitivity of the sensor, it can detect extremely small amounts and at very low velocities. But the challenge is to make sure that you have the zero setting correctly. So the auto zero will help you avoid situations where the previous sand monitoring software might have been masking out that type of sand production.
Yeah, that's true. Will you take next, Mats? Yeah, it's regarding if the ClampOn can transmit data wireless. So that's a little bit outside this software, but maybe you can say a few words about our new instrument, the bird, which is
Yeah, but the question goes whether it's IoT enabled, and yes, we do have wireless sensors now, but the software itself also, you have a ClampOn cloud connection, so you can stream data to the cloud, and also in previous systems, your main connection method would be Modbus. Now all the data is available as separate tags, so it's much easier to configure a system that use any type of I/O basically, because you just need to define your tags and select a communication method. So there will be a lot of plugins to support different protocols. And it will be much easier to set up additional links to the system.
Oh, that's good. That's good. And I think we have replied on all questions, actually.
Yeah. We can
maybe you should show that there is a software.
Yeah, we can jump to the. Let me log in now, and so we can see the actual software.
Yeah.
Where you have the live report running. You can, of course, you may prefer to sort your sensors so that you see sensors on that has alarms on top at all times, or maybe with the highest rate. And you can select different report periods. You get a preview of that period down here. You can select multiple sensors.
So now the good thing now, you can actually also trend two raw values from 2 or 3 or 4 sensors together in the same trend window.
Yeah. So if you're doing a boost job, for example, where you want to monitor a lot of sensors, it's much easier now.
Yeah. For example, as I mentioned, if you have subsea, a sensor on subsea, and you have one on the rise and one on the separator, you can trend them in the same trend window easily.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah. And if there's no flow data available, so you don't have any sand rates calculated, maybe you have manually, but still you may want to look at trends in the raw signal as well. So, for example, has there been which sensors show the largest change in the signal for that period, for example? Is there an offset error in the system? What kind of variation do you have on the signal? All of these are available. You have diagnostics available where you have the vibration, temperature, whether the sensors are communicating properly. If there's a communication problem, you can look it up here. In this case, we don't have any no replies or invalid replies from the sensors. But if, for example, there's a wiring issue or something like that, you can look that up in the diagnostic report. If you, let's go into a trend now. If you double click on it, you can select one or multiple sensors and multiple trends. You can mix and match whatever trends you want and from multiple sensors.
What's the questions regarding the alarms and event log? Could you also show that?
You have the event log here. You can search on type of alarm. For example, when there wasn't any. We have sand high alarms. You can filter it so you only see the type you want. You can sort it, of course, on just clicking on the columns here. And as I showed, you can have an overview of all the parameters in the system, and just drag and drop to get a trend of that. So that's nice if you're doing very close monitoring.
That's good. I can see the time is running much. We could sit
Yeah,
there for hours,
yeah.
I believe.
The time was running much faster than I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the new setup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of the alarm.
Yeah, I think we yeah. If you do need it, yeah. Okay. That's it.
Well, thank you, Mats and Åsmund. I hope you all enjoyed this event. And just let us know if you would like to discuss this further. We can be reached at sales@clampon.com. And the next webinar will be in the beginning of June. Then we will talk about service and more sand management with Åsmund. So I hope to see you then too. Thank you so much for attending, and have a lovely day.